Welcome everyone, my name is Fist Truck. So I just finished playing the Wolong Fallen Dynasty demo on the PS5, and this shit just kind of inspired me to do this random video. So I'm just gonna take a few minutes to go over how the game plays and my experience with the demo. Spoiler alert, it was really fucking good. Almost as good as if you were to hit that subscribe button. Heh. So before I get into talking about the demo, I just feel like I have to talk about Nioh real quick. Why? Because Team Ninja, the people who are developing this Wolong game, also developed Nioh 1 and 2. And for those who don't know, I simp really hard for Nioh. Something I give Nioh huge credit for is that while it's a Souls-like, it at least managed to carve its own path in the space compared to the FromSoft games. It mainly did this through the mission design and the combat. The combat in Nioh is way more fluid, way more fast, and in my opinion has significantly more depth to it than the combat in the FromSoft titles do. Not that that's a knock towards the FromSoft games. The combat they have works the best for their games as much as Nioh's combat works best for Nioh. With that being said, this game borrows a fair amount for Sekiro, but I can confidently say that they do the same thing in this game that they did with Nioh, where it's like Sekiro, but it's unique enough that it's not the same. Anywho, with that out of the way, time to get into the game. Alright, so I'm going to start with the first thing that the game decides to start off with, which is the character creator. It's the same one from Nioh 2, which is good. I didn't touch it though because I wanted to play the game. Moving on, the combat borrows a lot of elements from Sekiro, mainly deflections. You hit the circle button in time with enemy attacks to deflect them. And Makiri counters. This game doesn't call them that, but you know, you do a deflection at the last second of a move that's otherwise unblockable. You do this cool stunt on them kind of thing. It's a Makiri counter. Now, instead of a posture meter, this game has something called the spirit meter. Kind of works like posture, but with a unique twist on it. It works like a tug of war. It can either go left or right. If it's in the right, that's really good. If it's in the left, that's really bad. If it's all the way full on the left, then your posture's broken. Yeah, I'm just gonna call it posture. And if it's on the right, then you can turn that into energy that allows you to significantly buff your heavy attacks or skills. Stealth is also a thing, and it allows you to do some really big dick damage to start off a fight. However, I didn't really fuck with it all that much, but I'll get into that in just a little bit. Now, compared to Sekiro, this shit is fast. Along with that, it's pretty fucking unforgiving. You will just drop like a fly half of the time, and you'll understand why, but when you die, it hurts, and it happens a lot. At least it did for me. One thing that's awesome that comes along with the speed is that weaving magic and skills into combat is incredibly fluid. Each of the 4 different classes, I guess, that the game gives you to play with in the demo has 4 different magic skills, and you can effortlessly weave magic while you're in the middle of fighting. I never feel like I have to stop to cast anything. It's incredibly fluid and, more importantly, incredibly useful. With one character I was doing fire, another one I was doing poison. The fire just did straight up damage, while the poison obviously did damage over time, but it allowed for me to stack damage incredibly quickly when it did kick in. This game obviously has different weapons to use, and all the ones available in the demo are fun as hell, though 4 of them are just twist of swords. At least they play differently, but I really hope that there's more variety in the full release. You know, Nioh had shit like the split staff and the fist and the axe and the hammers. Well, axe and hammers are the same, but that's besides the point. You get what I mean. Now, the game has something called the morale system. It's a little number that's above your health bar. It kind of tells you how strong you are, and then you will also see the same number above enemies' heads, and it kind of tells you how strong they are in relation to your own strength. The cool thing about it is that it rewards consistent, clean play, and the more you're able to kill enemies without getting hit, the faster your number goes up, so then you could go fuck up even stronger enemies. With that being said, if you see an enemy that has a bunch of numbers above your head, they're absolutely gonna rock your shit, which I'm kind of 50-50 on. It's cool because it rewards exploration, because as you plant flags, aka bonfires, throughout the level, it'll naturally increase your morale, and as you're fucking up enemies, that'll also naturally increase your morale. However, it does kind of RPG-ify these games, and what I do love about FromSoft games and games of its ilk is that you can go fuck up really strong enemies without actually being high level yourself. That isn't a one-for-one of how this system translates, but it's pretty close. Level design is also neat. It's reminiscent of Nioh. There are multiple layers, different ways you can approach things. For example, look at this one tiger over here. You can approach him head on, or you can kind of go up and around, fuck up a couple of enemies, but then you get to jump on him, and you can start the fight with a shit ton of damage on him. Pretty cool, and one of the reasons why I love when they actually put some thought into exploration in these games, where the only reward isn't something that's material. Lastly, this game does have a gear system. It's similar to the one that was in Nioh. This is kind of a toss-up. If you don't like your Diablo-style loot, then this might not be your cup of tea, because if it's anything like Nioh, there's going to be a shit ton of it, and it will eventually creep up on you as you play through the game. Alrighty, now with all that stuff out of the way, I'm just going to quickly go over how I felt while playing this thing. I'm just going to say that most importantly, this shit is fun. The audio and visual feedback when you're doing a critical attack on your enemies is insanely satisfying, and it's the kind of shit that'll make you bust a whole nut in your fucking pants, man. However, you know, when you die, it happens a lot, and it happens incredibly fast, and to add add on to that just the regular schmucks that you run into while going around the level, they are 100% fully capable of tossing your salad and fucking your shit up. Moving on from your basic dude enemy, we have these beefy ass tigers that, guess what, are also fucking brutal, but they are fun as hell to fight. I love the little attention to detail thing that they did, that when you counter their little super attack, it makes their arms really bony and tiny. The only problem is that where their arms are small and tiny, they still have the full capability of beating the shit out of you with their small tiny arms. Next, I just want to give this game a huge shout out for giving me flashbacks of the Pursuer from Dark Souls 2. I just climbed this one spot and then this big ass thing drops down, and as you could clearly see, I immediately Christian Baled the fuck out of that situation. Lastly, I just want to give an even bigger shout out to the boss at the end of this demo, whose title is General of Man, which is one word away from General Man and 2 words away from man. Not sure why we gotta keep giving bosses titles following their names in the games. However, I'm just gonna say, when we see a boss whose title is Shits in Pants, I'm not going to be surprised. Though with that out of the way, boss was also incredibly fun, and I just love that once you get him down to science, you can absolutely fuck his shit up. I cannot emphasize how much fun this game is. I'm also a simp for Neo, so just keep that in mind as I continue to suck this game, as you know what. So if you got a PlayStation 5 or a Xbox, I believe the demo is available on both of those platforms. I highly recommend that you give this one a try. It's incredibly fucking fun, pretty fucking brutal, at least for me. You might have a smoother time, you might not, who knows. Anywho, if you made it to the end of this random video, thank you so much for watching. I know this one just kind of came out of the blue, but I played it and I felt like I just had to talk about it, so fuck it, why not make a video about it? And until next time, don't forget to always wipe before you shit.